Hello everyone. Let's jump straight into the heart of people watching in projects, stakeholder analysis. In a professional sense, this is a technique of systematically gathering and analyzing quantitative and qualitative information to determine whose interests should be taken into account throughout the project. Now, in plain English, this is profiling your project's neighborhood. It's about figuring out who is going to help you, who might accidentally hurt you, and what makes each of them tick. Think of it like being a detective. You don't just want a list of names, you want to know their motives, their hidden agendas, and how much weight they carry in the organization. I once worked on a project where we knew the IT director was a stakeholder, but we didn't analyze him. If we had, we would have realized he was terrified that our new software would make his favorite team redundant. Because we didn't analyze his fears, he spent 6 months quietly sabotaging our data migration. Stay with me here, because understanding the why behind a stakeholder is just as important as knowing their job title. So, now that we've mastered the idea that analysis is about digging deeper than just a name, you might be wondering how we start sorting these people based on how much muscle they have. Well, that brings us right into our next step. The first thing we look at is the level of power a stakeholder holds. Formally, power refers to the stakeholder's level of authority or ability to influence the project's outcomes, budget, or resources. To put that in very simple terms, it's the clout factor. It asks, can this person stop the project with one phone call? Let's break this down together. Imagine you are building a new deck on your house. Your spouse has high power. They live there. The city building inspector has high power. They grant the permit. But your neighbor has low power. They might not like the noise, but they can't legally stop you. You've probably seen this at the office when a senior VP who isn't even on your project team suddenly asks for a change. Because they have high authority in the company, their request is actually a command. So, now that we've mastered the concept of power and authority, you might be wondering what happens when someone has no power but cares more about the project than anyone else. Now watch how this connects, because we also have to measure interest. In a professional sense, interest is the level of concern a stakeholder has regarding the project's success or failure, or how much they will be affected by its results. In everyday language, this is the skin in the game. It's how much they care. Think of it like a local sports team. The fans have high interest, they live and breathe every game, but they have low power because they don't pick the players or the plays. However, if you ignore those fans, you'll eventually have an empty stadium. I remember a project where a junior clerk had very low authority but extremely high interest because our new system was going to change how she did her job every single day. By listening to her high interest feedback, we caught 3 massive workflow risks that the high power managers didn't even know existed. So now that we've mastered the balance between power and interest, you might be wondering how we can visually map these two things together to see our danger zones. Well, that brings us right into our next step. To make our analysis actionable, we put everyone onto the power/interest grid. Formally, this is a classification model used to determine the necessary level of engagement for different stakeholder groups based on their combined power and interest scores. To put that simply, it's your management map. It tells you who needs a daily phone call and who just needs a monthly email. Let's break this down together. Those in the high power/high interest corner are your key players. You must manage them closely. Those in the high power, low interest corner are people you must keep satisfied so they don't become a threat. Stay with me here, because your time is a limited resource. You can't treat everyone like a VIP or you'll never get any work done. You've likely felt this stress at work when you tried to please everyone at once. So, now that we've mastered the map of who needs what, you might be wondering how we figure out what these people actually expect from us. Well, that brings us right into our next step. Don't worry, we'll take it slow here, because we need to uncover hidden requirements. In a professional sense, this involves analyzing what each stakeholder hopes to gain from the project and what success looks like to them personally. In plain English, this is finding the what's in it for me. Every stakeholder is human. The finance manager wants to stay under budget. The marketing manager wants a wow factor. The lead developer wants to use a new coding language. Think of it like a group of friends picking a movie. One wants action, one wants a short runtime, and one just wants to see a specific actor. If you don't analyze those expectations, someone is going to leave the theater unhappy. At the office, if you don't know that the sponsor's main goal is speed to market, you might waste time on perfect quality and lose their support. So now that we've mastered the art of uncovering what people truly want, you might be wondering how we keep track of their changing attitudes as the project gets harder. Well, that brings us right into our final step. To wrap this all together, we have to analyze the stakeholder's attitude. Formally, this is the assessment of whether a stakeholder is supportive, neutral, or resistant to the project, and how their influence might affect other stakeholders. In very simple terms, are they a friend, a fence sitter, or a foe? I always tell my students, a powerful stakeholder who is resistant is your biggest project risk. You need to analyze why they are resistant. Are they afraid? Are they confused? Once you know, you can build a plan to move them toward being supportive. And that, my friends, is the essence of stakeholder analysis. It's about using data and empathy to navigate the human side of risk. So now that we've mastered the full journey from clout and concern to the final attitude check, you are ready to take all this analysis and build a world-class stakeholder engagement plan. We are going to discuss power or interest grid in details in next chapter.